What is up, YouTube? HPJ here, and it's time for another Archetype video. This time around, ladies and gentlemen, I'm visiting the RPG series, as so did Konami, with Mimighoul. If you break down this archetype's name, it is derived of terms mimic and ghoul. Mimics are a band of creatures in RPGs and JRPGs that disguise themselves as treasure chests or item boxes that the wandering traveler may come across. Unfortunately, well, they tend to not actually be full of treasure, but full of enemies, and these enemies will try to take you out. Now, as we all know, ghouls are, fiendish creatures, and they will suck the life force out of you. So when you combine the two together, you get Mimighoul. And Konami definitely wanted to take its inspiration from JRPGs and RPGs to inspire this archetype. Now, this archetype was first introduced into TCG via the Infinite Forbidden, and then later support was released in Rage of the Abyss. Now, if you're in the OCG, you ended up getting a lot of this via the the world premiere pack for 2025, introducing Mimighoul to you. And if you're playing Duel Links, I don't think the Mimighoul are out, but I do know that in Master Duel, the Mimighoul had just came out, taking advantage of a lot of their abilities and setups to flip things face up and face down. It's actually pretty cool. Now, in terms of flip, that is what majority of these monsters take advantage of being flip monsters. And while doing such, they also take advantage of their ability to flip things face down or face up. And it's been a gimmick throughout Yu-Gi-Oh! In the early days of GX and the later days of DM, there were monsters that were based off of, creatures in mythos of Egypt that are of the sands that flip things face up and face down, and then had abilities to trigger off of them. While they weren't necessarily flip effect, they had flip abilities. And then later on, we ended up getting a lot of other flip monsters, like Man-Eater. Well, before that, we had Man-Eater Bug and Magician of Faith, Penguin Soldier, Hane Hane, and then throughout the years later, we got those flip monsters, and then we ended up getting archetypes that were based off of flipping monsters face up and face down. Looking at some of my favorites, like the Ghost Trick, who, of course, I've done a video on, and the Shadal, which I think I've done an archetype video on. If I haven't, I really cannot, because there's a lot of cards to look for. But they also took advantage of the flip mechanic and flip abilities themselves, using them uniquely, but definitely did have their ways of flipping monsters face up and face down and benefiting from them and causing your opponent some havoc. There's also the Prediction Princesses, which I believe was also another archetype, and they were based off of ritual variants that also tried to take advantage of the flip monsters and stuff. There's also this thing called the Pot of Taboo, which also was created in the TCG and OCG. Its name later got changed in the TCG to Pot of Forbidden to also emulate that, and had abilities of some of the cards that were forbidden in the card game. So yeah, that was a thing. But for this video, we're just going to focus on the Mimighoul and what they bring to the table. I have everything ready here for the Mimighouls and everything that they're based off of. So why don't we go ahead and get into this dungeon full of mischief. And we started off with Mimighoul Armor. This is a level 1 Earth Attribute Warrior type flip monster with 600 attack and 1500 defense. I'll read the full effects here, but for the remainder of the video, I'll leave out some abilities just so that we can make things consistent. So, flip. If it is the main phase, apply these effects in sequence. This turn, Mimighoul monsters cannot be destroyed by battle. Give control of this card to your opponent. During the main phase, you can summon this card from your hand to your opponent's side of the field, face down defense position. Or, if your opponent controls a monster, you can summon this card from your hand and face up onto your field. You can only use each effect of Mimighoul Armor once per turn. So the ideals here in the gimmicks that these monsters have is their ability to summon themselves to your opponent's side of the field face down, and then apply their abilities in sequential order when flipped face up. For the Mimighoul armor, it's to protect Mimighoul monsters and allow them to not be destroyed by battle. Easily flipping up one of them in the face-up attack position, and then just ramming into it to inflict damage to your opponent. And since it can't be destroyed by battle, thanks to the armor's ability, there's not much that your opponent can really do. Then, for the inspiration of Mimighoul armor, it's an inanimate armor, just sitting there in the treasure chest and most likely being affected by something and being able to attack you in command. We're going to move this monster over to go ahead and talk about the next monster, which is Mimighoul Slime. So another level 1 Earth attributed monster, and this card is of the Aqua type. 400 attack and 500 defense. Its effect reads that if your opponent, you can such summon one, your opponents can such summon one Mimighoul monster from their deck to the field. Then, give this card you control to your opponent. Then, if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you just summon this card from your hand. You're going to use each effect of Mimighoul Slime once per turn each. Mimighoul Slime is based off of the slime enemies in RPGs and JRPGs. Their whole thing is that they're these liquefied creatures that will jump on you and smother you to death. Mimighoul Slime takes that reference to a whole level, coming out of what seems to be a pot, and is jumping onto the opponent. There's also been some things where slimes have taken over suits of armor and used them as their armor to attack their prey. And funny enough, as you can tell in Mimighoul armor, it seems that this monster might be controlling that inanimate armor and using it for its own. There are tons of slime monsters in RPGs. Some monsters I can give you off the top of my head are the Flans in Final Fantasy, the slimes themselves in Dragon Quest. Pokemon has a couple of slimes themselves. There's slime enemies in The Legend of Zelda, although it's not an RPG series. I mean, heck, it's about time it became one. And there are even some in some various other video game series, and even some. Actually, the origination was over in Dungeons and Dragons, where slime monsters were an enemy. So, moving on from there, we go into the next monster, and that is Mimighoul Fairy. So, level 1, Earth attribute, Fairy type monster, 100 attack, 100 defense. This turn, you cannot activate the effects of monsters such as summon from the hand and give control of this monster to your opponent. Then, if you control a Mimighoul monster, you can summon this card from your hand. You'll use each effect of Mimighoul Fairy once per turn each. Mimighoul Fairy is based off of a dark fairy. Now, we know fairies to be, supporters of good, light, and pure, but this Mimighoul Fairy is based off of dark fairies, those who cause mischief, pain, and sorrow. And coming out of her cute, adorable box also just signifies how much of an evil and corrupt spirit that she can really be, casting spells on you and dragging you down if need be. Next up is Mimighoul Cerberus, as a level 1 beast type monster, 400 attack, and 1800 defense. Now, Beast's effect is that you banish the top 3 cards of your deck to then special summon one monster that is banished to your opponent's side of the field in defense position and give control of this card to your opponent. Then, you're going to use each of the effects of this card's name once per turn. However, there is one effect I'm not reading, and that is that from now, there are 3 other Mimighoul monsters similar to Cerberus that can be special summoned from your hand in face down position, but do not have an extender ability to special summon themselves to your field. Now, while this card is on the field once a turn, your opponent cannot target spells you control with card effects. This actually helps defend your field spell and some very other spells within the Mimighouls in terms of support. Mimighoul Cerberus is based off of the pet beast of the king of the underworld, Hades, in Greek mythological creatures, also under the same name as Cerberus. I've also heard this card's name, or this fiend's name, be pronounced as cerebral as well. And from translation, it means fluffy. So this is Hades' little Fluffy. How the mighty gets fallen, huh? Yeah, alright. It's still cute though, I'm not gonna lie. Next up is Mimighoul Archfiend, known in the OCG as Mimighoul Demon. This level 1 Fiend attributed monster with 0 attack and 1900 defense. Has the effects of your opponent draws 1 card, you send 1 card from your hand to the grave, give control of this card to your opponent, and just like Cerebral, you have the ability to set summon this card from your hand in face down defense position to your opponent's side of the field. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can change 1 face down monster your opponent controls. One down monster on the field to face up attack or defense position. You use each effect of the Archfiend once per turn. So while this card has Archfiend in its name, yes, that means it is Demon in the OCG, as I said earlier. This monster does fit into that whole category of the Archfiend monsters and cards that support the Archfiends. Which, no, I doubt you're not going to be using, but it's just one of those things that you can easily make reference to if need be. The other addition to this is that, yes, this monster has the ability to allow you to draw a card, has the ability to force your opponent to discard from their hand, or send cards from their hand to the grave, and give the control of itself to you, while also being able to help you flip some cards face up and face down to irritate your opponent. And yes, this card is based off of fiends and demon creatures in RPGs and JRPGs. Next up is the Dragon. This is Mimighoul Dragon. 500 attack, 2000 defense, and its effect reads that destroy all face-up monsters on the field, on your side of the field. Face-up monsters you control except for Mimighoul monsters. Then, when this card is on special summon, you can add 1 Mimighoul spell or trap from your deck to your hand. You'll use each effect of Mimighoul Dragon once per turn. This monster is based off of the Dragon class in JRPGs and RPGs. Giant creatures that look like lizards but aren't lizards. They shoot fire, are various types of magic, and they have wings and can fly. The thing about this monster is that this is a monster you combine with Mimighoul Archfiend, and if it's on your opponent's field face down, which you can do through its ability, you can flip it face up and then force your opponent to have all their monsters on the field that aren't a Mimighoul be destroyed by its effect. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Then we have the last of the Mimighoul main deck monsters, and it's this guy. This is Mimighoul Master. This is the leader of the Mimighouls. It's a level 4 Earth Attribute Zombie type monster with 1800 attack and 1200 defense. This monster cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect while your opponent controls any face down monsters, or you control a Mimighoul monster other than Mimighoul Master. You can use each of the following effects of Mimighoul Master once per turn each. The first effect is that if this card is no more special summon, you can add 1 Mimighoul monster from your deck to your hand except for Mimighoul Master. During your opponent's main phase, quick effect, you can change 1 face down monster on the field to face up attack or defense position. Mimighoul Master is the leader of the Mimighouls and is based off of the Lech, a sorceress-like zombie creature that uses magical spells and casts them on enemies. This monster itself, and funny enough, its equipment is actually a monster of its own, which I'll get into momentarily. But the Mimighoul Master is able to not only protect itself and its Mimighoul kin, but benefit from its Mimighoul kin and make sure that your opponent cannot do much to them, while also being able to get Mimighoul monsters from the deck and put them onto your hand. It's a very resourceful monster, and there's a lot of key components to the deck behind this card. Now, while we're in the midst of it, let's go ahead and talk about this monster. As I said, some of the things that are on it are actually a card, and that's actually true. Mimighoul Throne, one of the two Xyz monsters that this archetype has. Mimighoul Throne is a rock type Earth attribute Xyz monster, rank 1 with 0 attack and 1000 defense. This card requires 2 level 1 Mimighoul monsters. You attach one material from this card to summon 1 Mimighoul master from your hand, deck, or graveyard. And during your main phase, quick effect, you can target 1 Mimighoul monster you control and equip this card to it as an equipped spell and give it 1000 attack. Then, you can return cards from the field to the hand up to the number of material this card has. You can only use one effect of Mimighoul Throne once per turn and only once that turn. So while being locked behind a hard once per turn effect, and of course its ability to bounce things back once it equips itself to the opponent and it loses material, Mimighoul Throne is basically the pieces of Mimighoul Master. His throne, which he sits on, his scepter, and his crown. All points to the same as the history behind the Lech, where he has his golden crown, his golden seat, his golden scepter. Yeah, I know there's going to be some comparisons to that Leech, and yes, you are 100% correct. That Leech, which is also the same inspiration for Eldritch, the Golden Lord, in the Eldorado line. Now from there we have one more monster, and it is Giant Mimighoul. This is a level 1 Earth Attribute rank 1 Earth Attribute Rock type monster that requires 2 level 1 monsters. It has 1300 attack and 1200 defense. It effect reads that your non-exceed Mimighoul monsters can attack your opponent directly while your opponent controls a face-down monster. You can only use each of the following effects of Giant Mimighoul once per turn each. If this card is exceed summon, you can add 1 Mimighoul card from your deck to your hand. You can attach one material from this card to then target any face-up cards on the field up to the number of face-down monsters your opponent controls and destroy them. And if you do, inflict 1000 points of damage to your opponent for each card destroyed. Mimighoul Giant is based off of a giant skeleton. As you can see, the skeletal arm coming out of the treasure chest, guarding the gold that is next to it. It's also safe to say that maybe this monster can also be Mimighoul Master, hiding within it, getting ready to lay a curse on the unexpected creature, or just a giant skeleton that we never got a chance to see, which would be pretty cool. Mimighoul's giant's effect is to protect its Mimighoul kin, and then make sure that they can attack your opponent directly, so they can inflict damage to your opponent, while also being able to get rid of cards that are face up on the field. Isn't that crazy? So, that is all the monsters, and now let's get on to the spells and traps. We have the field spell. This is Mimighoul Dungeon. It says that Mimighoul monsters you control that were not normal or special summon this turn gain attack and defense equal to their original defense. Any player who controls a face down monster cannot normal or special summon nor declare an attack with monsters that were special summoned this turn during your main phase. You can add 1 Mimighoul monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand. You only use this effect of Mimighoul Dungeon once per turn. This card's artwork features some of the Mimighoul cards in it, as well as skeletons of those who are fallen in the presence of the Mimighouls. The crazy thing about this as well is I believe this is more censored in the TCG than it is the OCG, because I think it gets a little more gruesome in the OCG. But yeah, this card is the field spell for the Archetype, granting its ability to search for cards, but also being able to protect cards and force cards to not be able to attack this turn as well. And then gain points as well from their defense and stuff to protect those monsters, to help those monsters out. Mimighoul Maker is next up, and this is a normal spell. It says reveal 2 flip monsters with different names from your deck, and then your opponent randomly picks one. They special summon one to their side of the field in face down defense position, and the other goes to your hand. And then you can special summon the Mimighoul monster from your hand to the field through this effect. If your opponent special summons a monster, except during your damage step, you banish this card from your graveyard and target one face down monster your opponent controls, and flip that monster into face up attack or defense position. You only use the effect of Mimighoul Maker once per turn and only once per turn. Featuring the artworks of Mimighoul Master. Hold on one second. Okay. So Mimighoul Maker has the ability to search out for your Mimighouls, get different monsters to your hand, be able to help you search out for those pieces, and then be able to basically set up your board, because at that point you're just setting up to get a Mimighoul onto your opponent's field and play around with flipping those cards face up or face down, and then utilize their abilities. Alright, now from there we have Mimighoul Fork, in which this card's ability is that you target a face down monster your opponent controls and flip it, and your opponent chooses one of the following effects and applies them, which is to change it to face-up attack or defense position, or send it to the grave, and then its owner draws 2 cards. You banish this card from your graveyard to add 1 Mimighoul Fork from your deck to your hand, and you use each effect of Mimighoul Fork once per turn. So, another card with the artworks of a Mimighoul chest in its artwork, which I believe is probably the Mimighoul chest for... I don't know which Mimighoul monster chest that is, but most likely it's probably the Eldritch. Or it's the... Oh no, it's the Mimighoul chest for the giant Mimighoul. And as you can see, there's 2 different paths with tons of traps on it. And even if you think you weren't going to get past a trap, you're basically got a trap. And it's going to benefit the player, since you're the owner of the Mimighoul monster that you're going to send to graveyard. You're going to be able to draw cards from it. And yeah, this is actually a really cool card to stand behind. It's actually pretty cool itself. We also have another Mimighoul support card, and that is Mimighoul Charm. So this is the continuous spell, and it reads that, what does this effect read? Oh, once per chain during the main phase, if a Mimighoul monster your opponent controls is flipped face up, you can randomly choose one face down card in your opponent's extra deck, and if it's a monster, you can special summon it to the field if it can be special summoned. Then, if it cannot be special summoned, you banish it. And you can actually use this effect twice per turn. So this helps clear out the extra deck against your opponent, and basically gets rid of some of their really big or heavy hitting combo plays or monsters. The thing about Mimighoul Charm's artwork consists of both Mimighoul Fairy and Mimighoul Archfiend as light and dark intertwine. And then the last card of the archetype is the only trap card in the archetype, and that is Mimighoul Room. This card effect reads: you summon one Mimighoul monster from your hand or deck to your field, or in face down position to your opponent's side of the field. Then you can change one face up monster on the field to face down position. You banish this card from your graveyard to then target any number of Mimighoul cards you control and return them to the hand. You can only use one Mimighoul Room effect per turn, and only once per turn. This card tends to act as a Book of Moon, being able to flip things face up and face down, while also being able to spontaneously move things around as well into face down or face up position. And has to be one of the biggest card combos in the archetype as well, benefiting from having access to the Mimighoul's ability to flip things face up and face down. It's honestly just what keeps the Mimighouls going, and if you see a lot of the combo videos, do take advantage of them, because they do tend to help out with surviving how the Mimighouls are played, and I highly recommend it. So, with that said and done, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for my Mimighoul video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, as it helps out tremendously. You can hit the notification bell to be informed of when I upload more of my content, and social media links are in the description box below. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And with that said and done, HPJ signing out. Take care.